welcome to the meeting of the Planning Board for February 25th, 2020. We're going to do a couple of things out of order, because we should be doing these
Okay.
at the end, right?
However you want to, that's fine.
I think we should do the meeting first and then
Okay.
make the changes afterwards.
Okay. Sure.
First, I'd like to recognize a new board member. We have Lou George is on the board today.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, it's because Charles is leaving. He's moved out of the area. We thank you for, we wanted to drag you down here to thank you for everything that you've done. You've been on the board for 3 years? 2 years. 2 years.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah, congratulations.
Very good job.
Good luck.
Great honor.
But thank you very much, and hopefully you're not a total stranger, just because you've moved to the big city. I'd also like to say good job to everybody, including staff in particular, for everything with the town meeting. Everything went extremely smoothly for all the town meeting members that were there. We got large support from a majority of the standing members. Overall, I thought it was pretty impressive in terms of the town meeting members that supported it and what they said. So, along with the Board of Selectmen on top of that. So we're going to do things up a little bit out of order. We have 309R Locust Street in front of us right now. And they're here for a reduction of the performance guarantee.
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the developer, Danvers Living LLC, and we are requesting a reduction of the performance bond relative to the Holly Hill subdivision. The reduction requested, and you currently are holding a bond in the amount of $175,242, and we are requesting that be reduced to $30,134.82, which represents a bond reduction of $145,107.60, as outlined in the Exhibit A, which was submitted with the bond reduction request. That has been reviewed and approved by the engineering department. Should have an email from Stephen King in that regard. We are also requesting an extension of the completion date because there are some things, final paving and things that need to be done in the spring. We had originally requested just a 6-month extension, but staff had asked us to do a full year extension just in case, so we don't have to come back again in case there's a delay. Of course, if we complete prior to that, we will come back at that time. So, as requested by staff, we did draft the amendment to the tripartite agreement, and that has been signed by the developer as well as the lender in 3 counterparts in anticipation of your vote tonight.
Okay.
And I have those originals with me.
Excellent. I'm going to put it out to the board. Did everybody get a chance to read the memos that we had? Peg, anything?
No questions. Engineering approved, so what gave us the amount.
Jim?
I'm fine.
John?
All set, thank you.
Lou?
Just one question, just with respect to in terms of the engineering approval, and this is just a question because I think that Steve King mentioned in the email, he made a reference that since the original engineering spreadsheet was changed, I don't have what the planning board approved back when the wall was deleted. Other than that, I'm fine with the work that's taken place and agree to the reduction. So I wasn't sure whether or not, is there, he's referencing some prior approval. Does that affect any of?
Nancy, Dave, I don't know if staff or if the applicant would prefer to.
It doesn't affect anything for this evening. There was a prior conversation between engineering and planning about bonding a retaining wall that's actually on a house lot, which we are not allowed to do. We can only get surety for the right-of-way and work in the right-of-way. So that was taken out. I think the original spreadsheet that Steve had was much, much higher because of that wall. So if that's out of the equation, it's the original number that Nancy explained earlier, 175, whatever it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good on that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Nathaniel?
No, it's all clear. Thanks.
Okay. I have no further questions, so we need a certificate of action.
Yes. And sorry, just Nancy, really quick one time, $30,134.82.
Is the amount reduced to?
Okay, all right, thank you.
John?
I didn't have the 82 cents.
It's right there, though, the 80, okay.
We're good for it.
Okay. This is to certify at the meeting of the Danvers Planning Board held on February 25th, 2020. By a motion duly made and second, it was voted. We, the Danvers Planning Board of the Town of Danvers, have been requested by Danvers Living LLC for a reduction of the tripartite agreement dated August 14th, 2018, by and among Danvers Living LLC, Enterprise Bank, a banking corporation having an unusual place of business of 8 High Street, Andover, Massachusetts, and the Planning Board of the Town of Danvers, being held for the completion of the required site improvements, do hereby vote to reduce the amount held in surety under this agreement to $30,134.82 as recommended to this board in correspondence from Stephen King, Jr., P.E., Town Engineer, dated February 3rd, 2020. The developer agrees to complete the work no later than February 14th, 2021, unless said date shall be extended by written amendment to the tripartite agreement herewith accepted.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck.
Can we get them to you at the end?
Sure.
Thanks.
Next, we have Form A, approval not required for 7 to 9 Riverside Ave.
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. Again, I'm here on behalf of Danvers Really Holding LLC, as well as the 7-9 Riverside Avenue Condominium Trust, requesting endorsement of an approval not required plan for the property located at 7-9 Riverside Avenue in Danvers. With me tonight is Tom Nolan, who is the manager of Danvers Realty Holdings LLC, as well as a trustee of the condominium trust. The plan that we have submitted has sufficient frontage in well in excess of the 50 feet of frontage that was required at the time of filing of this plan, which was filed with the planning board as well as with the town clerk prior to the recent town meeting.
I'm going to bring it out to the board. I think, does staff have any comments before I bring it out to the board about this?
No, I think the memo in the packet sums it up, and we're
Okay.
good.
John, any specific questions?
Nope, not from me, thank you.
Nope.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Just with respect to the, so it's my understanding from the memo here that this would expire within 3 years,
Zone freeze,
zone freeze.
the zone freeze that this endorsement of the A&R plan gives to the property is a freeze on the use, and that freeze expires 3 years.
May it be extended?
No.
And in terms of the, during that time, the use could be expanded, is that correct?
During that time, the applicable use zoning is the zoning in the I-1 zoning district.
Sure. All right. So in terms of expansion, it can be expanded within the, I guess, within the confines of the existing district?
It can be expanded within the confines of the lot.
The lot.
It freezes only the lot.
Okay.
The zoning as to that lot. So this lot at 7-9 could be used for any uses that were permitted in the I-1 zoning district.
Okay. And I guess one last question for planning. Have we received, I know this came in before the town meeting vote, have we received others with respect to this, or this is what?
We have not.
We have not. Okay. Thank you.
Nathaniel?
No questions, thanks.
Jim?
No questions.
Peg?
No, this is the first time I've ever seen this, though. This isn't a common occurrence.
Depends on where you are.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've only-
Danvers.
Before,
You've done it before?
I can't recall whether I've ever done it in Danvers,
Yeah.
but I have done it both through an A&R, which freezes the use, as well as the definitive plan process, which freezes use and dimensionals.
Okay. I have no question, just staff summary was very good.
The only other zoning change we've actually strictly done was down on Waterfront. Everything else
Yeah.
was an overlay, so the zones were both available.
In the area that didn't want to change from I-1, we left out completely.
Correct,
Right.
but this is the first one since
Where there
waterfront
was
that was a
ye-
complete zoning
Yeah.
change as opposed to an overlay.
No, that's
That
true,
we've
you're
done.
right, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, if
This
you
is
do
the
an
first one.
overlay, there's no need for
Right.
Yeah,
freeze process.
I already gave, Jim, I already offered it to you,
Yes.
right? Okay. I have no other questions, actually, associated with this. Let's have Jim read it.
This is certified that the meeting of the Danvers Planning Board held on February 25th, 2020 by a motion duly made and seconded. It was voted. We, the Danvers Planning Board, in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81P, and as provided for in Section 3 of the Planning Board Rules and Regulations governing the subdivision of land in Danvers, do hereby vote that the plan entitled Plan of Land in Danvers, Mass. 7-9 Riverside Avenue Condominium, 7-9 Riverside Avenue, Danvers, Massachusetts, 01923, prepared for Danvers Realty Holdings, LLC, prepared by Hancock Associates, 185 Center Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, February 5th, 2020, scale 1 inch equals 20 feet. Submitted by Danvers Realty Holdings, LLC, and 7-9 Riverside Avenue Condominium Trust, does not constitute a subdivision with a meaning of the subdivision control law, and therefore is entitled to endorsement as an approval not required.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Next, we have other business. We have reviewing of the zoning regulations. We've got something else in front of us now.
Yes, you do. As threatened earlier in the year / later last year, the design standards that came along with the new zoning really shouldn't be placed in the zoning bylaw. So what we've been saying all along was those design standards are going to be placed in a separate document called zoning regulations. So those will be the planning board's own internal document to be adopted and as modified as needed without necessarily going to a vote of town meeting. So if you want to change the number of plans required or anything involved within this document, we don't need a 2/3 vote from town meeting once, at best, every year, if not every 18 months. So it'll be more of a living document than has been in the past. The only other thing in here, besides the design standards, which hadn't really changed, we've had those the whole time, was the language involved with the special permitting specifically related to the downtown zoning and the transportation management. So besides that, it's most of the documents just setting up the front matter, explaining what it is, and then at the end, Section 6 is the design standards for the downtown zoning. So-
I guess my question is, at town meeting, normally, with the zoning changes, we would vote the zoning bylaw, and then we would vote the map change.
Yes.
Typically, that's what we would do. So when we voted for the zoning change, didn't that include all these regulations as part of it? So you're just going to append them to the zoning bylaw, or?
They are a document outside of the bylaw itself. So with the design standards, they're not enabling legislation, they're not regulatory like the bylaw is, they're design standards for the planning board. So when a project comes in, we can say, see our design standards, they say all windows should look like, 6/1, all doors should be, whatever it is, specifically for downtown, it doesn't apply to anywhere else but for what we just did in the zoning bylaw. So we did get the zoning change, we did do the map changes, those all passed. Now this is at the tail end of that for the planning board to adopt. And we don't have to do it this evening, that's why I put review and possible approval. It is a 94-page document that I doubt anyone has read in its entirety. I know it's fits and starts for me as well. So really, this was just getting it out there. If the board's not comfortable, we can come back to it next meeting.
So as a guideline, when an applicant comes in front of the board, if they're seeking waivers or changes from that, is that something they would be administratively approved by you or your office, or every little change would have to come through us? Because wouldn't some of that rise to the level of administrative review versus planning board review if someone wants to put 4 windows instead of 6?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some, what's the distinction on that? Because we could be here for
Yes.
a lot of different quibbles.
Sure. So we still have administrative review at the staff level under site plan. So remember, for most of these projects, for the downtown stuff, they'd be coming into this board for a site plan. So that's the mechanism that you'd see them. So that all would act the same way as it does now. So there's administrative review for certain things for under site plan. If they needed, especially your jurisdiction, so special permitting would still come here.
Right, but as to my question, as to, if there was a particular item that the applicant, for whatever reason, couldn't, or was having a dispute with, we like the project, but there might have been some minutia, what is the standard where we would be involved versus staff?
It would be a waiver to the planning board if, say, for instance, they want to deviate on the design standards, their roof line isn't one of the roofs that we talked about in the book. That would be a waiver to the planning board during the application process. So if you wouldn't be able to come back to staff after the fact, after you all have voted and said, actually, I told you a gambrel was great, but now I want to do something else. That would essentially be a change to the building that would trigger another site plan process. We can work something else
What's the
in.
magnitude of the change? What would necessitate? Do we have any guideline for a distinction on?
Nothing other than what's already in the site plan module for the bylaw. So it's still just, I think it's like moving underground infrastructure, moving a parking space less than a foot, changes to landscaping are administrative on certain occasions. So we can work that stuff in if that's what you're throwing out there. I didn't want to go tweaking the site
No,
plan
yeah, I just
section.
think it's,
Yeah.
for stuff of that minute level, we don't
Okay.
need to have someone come to the board
That's,
if they're, but I mean, what you're saying is, when you meet with them through a technical review, that's all going to be brought up at the outset or before we get the plans.
yeah, in theory, when you're there, it would be, okay, here's your design, you need waivers or relief from X, Y, Z, A, B, C. What's your plan of attack, either
But certain waivers, you might have the discretion to deal with versus us, or not?
with waivers, we don't.
Not waivers, but
Yeah.
those minute details that don't require a waiver level.
As it stands in this, we don't. It would only be what exists currently. So like the things I just said, the
Okay.
infrastructure. We can work on that if that's something you'd rather. I figured start from the top giving you everything and we can cut it back from there as opposed to having staff just make those cuts.
Yeah, my only concern is if, say, this was a popular thing and we all of a sudden, we've got 3 or 4 applicants with
Yep.
sizable projects and we're just getting our hold on these standards for the first time and they are pretty cumbersome, or quite detailed.
They are.
And so there may be some give and take, and at what level do we need to be involved versus staff saying, okay, that's move a couple plants or do this or that? Do we really need the planning board involvement?
Okay.
You know?
Okay, yeah, no, that's good
all.
feedback.
Yeah, I'd like to read through it a little bit more myself. I've read it, but it was a while back.
Yep.
When we first introduced it, so.
Sure.
Does anyone else from the board have any questions in relationship to?
No, but I agree with where Jim was coming from. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Make sure that we have a document that's workable.
Because I don't think we're really ready to vote on this one just yet. Will.
No, not even.
Nathaniel? No? Peg, any questions in
No,
particular
I've
about
only
it?
read a little bit of it,
Yeah.
so.
Like I said, it's pretty.
Yeah, I'd just like to
pretty
get
lengthy.
through it once or twice before I get a
Sure.
chance to, just to make sure that we're not overstepping our boundaries, because there's always going to be questions as to what the town meeting should look at versus what board should look at.
Sure.
Because I know we brought design standards in front of town meeting a few years back.
Didn't go well.
No, but this is more of a guideline than an actual. What we brought in front of town meeting was more of a design standard that that applicants would have to follow a bit more closely.
I don't know, I thought it was kind of close to the same. I mean, the guideline, this is a guideline, but this gives us some teeth to
Right.
determine what goes in where prior we didn't have that. And when we were trying to do those guidelines more than a few years ago, I think that was one of the concerns, though.
But we brought the guidelines in by themselves.
Yeah.
It wasn't attached to,
No. And
To a
the concern
specific
was that we
downtown.
we
It
would be
was-
holding too much control.
it was about the whole, yeah, it was a guideline, I think, across the board for the entire
So
town.
my question, though, on this with the guideline, and I apologize because I haven't read the whole thing, I've kind of scanned little bits of it. Is this also going to pertain to the Hobart Street, those guidelines?
The 40R?
Yeah, the 40R guidelines.
Yeah, so
So it'll be
actually,
both downtown and,
yeah, so what
Okay.
happened with the 40R vote, as far as we could tell, I wasn't here, we're trying to deconstruct and reconstruct. With the 40R, the whole document, the bylaw and the design that goes with it was voted and put into the bylaw, so
and
we
it's
had.
huge.
Yeah, so we had for a while the zoning bylaw, and then you came and picked up this other separate document that was like, 150 pages. So what we wanted to do was take that out, let the bylaw be the bylaw, where that's, your regulation, your law, and this is all that other stuff that came along with the 40R. What
And
it
then-
should look like, what type of lighting they should have.
And then this new the new commercial design guideline and the, what was just passed will be separate already.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
All right, so we'll we have some reading to do, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess.
And then I believe we have another zoning amendment that we're going to be looking at. Are we going to discuss
The animal husbandry?
the animals?
I just put it in the packet, we don't have
Okay.
to, I just wanted you all to have what we had.
Okay, all right. And it's, are we going to be doing public hearings for that? And, okay,
Most likely at this point, it's probably looking like April.
okay.
As we get closer to the actual town meeting.
We're going to have time enough to get it for this town meeting, because I know that the push was for this town, the annual town meeting.
That's the instructions that I have.
Okay.
So that's something that is going to be within our purview? I thought it was the Board of Health.
It's all going to be in the Board of Health, but for the fact that so currently it's all in the zoning bylaw. What we'd like to do, again, is pull that out and just enable it in the zoning bylaw to say, yes, you can keep animals in R1, 2, and 3. And that way, the zoning bylaw is not saying, well, how much do they weigh, what kind of animal
How
it is,
many?
how many
We've
do
got to
you
give
have.
it to them. That's
Yeah.
what the zoning's going to be.
Yeah.
Or that's what we're looking at right now.
Right.
So how many chickens do you have? Do you have 15?
Are they all under 15 pounds?
Are we talking about how many I've registered?
Just say, Bill, don't tell him.
I have no comment.
Good man. Talk.
All right. So next we have future dates. Is there anything that staff has on this?
No, just your regularly scheduled meeting is March 10th
Okay.
at the senior center. Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's right. They start up, the budget meetings are in this room. So we get moved. We don't get the primo spots for the next few weeks. Anything specifically for staff before we move on from the board? No. We have minutes, January 28th, 2020. Unless there's any questions about the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of January 28th as written.
Second.
Second,
Third.
third.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so it looks like we're near the end of the meeting here. So this is our, unless there's something else on the agenda.
No, that's it.
Okay. This is the time where, this is one of my favorite times. We're now to reorganize the officers associated with the board. So we're looking for a nomination for a chair and a clerk at this point in time. And I can't make those nominations.
Gosh, I'm trying to think.
John's.
John and you.
And me, clerk.
Yeah. I make a motion that we nominate, not make a motion, that we nominate John Farmer as chair and Jim Sears as clerk.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Can we second our own nominations?
Second.
Oh, second.
Do we have a second now? Any discussion? Gentlemen?
It's a tough
Lady.
campaign.
Yes.
No discussion?
No. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, men.
Yes.
Thank you.
I look forward to being in one of the other chairs.
All right, Bill. Thanks for all your good work.
Thank you, Bill, yes.
Thanks,
This
Bill,
was
for
This was another
another great
tough
term.
year.
Oh, thank you.
Good job.
It was good. It was a lot smoother, I think, than the last time I was the chair. So unless we have anything else in front of us, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Oh, we have the certificate of vote. We have to sign, we have to give our signatures for authorized so they can do stamps and things like that.
Yep.
Okay?
So the registry can have your signatures on file for
And
signing plans.
Do we need to vote for that or just sign?
Need to make a vote to sign.
Okay, so we need to make a vote to certify the vote for authorization of signatures.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, wow, that was
7 minutes. Good job, Bill.
good.
Don't run away.